let's close that and go live. Right on time, 2 minutes after, but hey, that's all right. You're live, it says, and welcome to another day in the Milky Way. Believe it or not, here we are again for another week of it's another time. Oh, no, another week. It's week 20. Holy cow, of Native American myths and legends. And I'm welcoming my co-host, David Null, Hawkeye Two Feathers. My gosh, thank you for coming.
Hi, everybody, and greetings, and we welcome you with blessings of the great Creator.
We were just talking about having a voice for radio, and I'm thinking about the voice for radio, and as I'm saying all that, I'm thinking, I wonder if I got a voice for radio.
Sunday. Here we are on Tuesdays. Ladies and gentlemen, we welcome you to the program. Thank you so much for tuning in again, or for your first time here on Tuesday. Thank you, Robert.
Yes.
What you got planned for?
Well, and that's what Brian used to do. He's like, it's Monday, or Tuesday. That was always funny. Oh man, I enjoy those shows. But miss that guy. Really miss that guy. Yeah. I mean, I wish we would have met in person, but never did. Probably would have if he hadn't passed away. I mean, it was just too soon. It was just like, bam, there he is. I just start being friends with him and doing shows, and next thing you know, he's gone, and it really breaks my heart.
But he's still with us.
Yes.
He's one of us. We're here. Robert, you keep his memory alive. Me too. We had lots of good shows together and had a lot of good laughs and times, and he's still alive with us and all and with the Soul Tribe, so
absolutely. I mean, he's only gone in physical form. I mean, and we'll see him on the great beyond after that, and for now, he's in our memories and in our hearts, and believe it or not, it's like we have him here anyway, because he's he's right there. And speaking of that, you know what I could do? Here, let's try something.
Right there.
Hang on. I'm gonna do something here fun. You just give me a second. Carry on the conversation here till I can find something.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, Robert's in one of his moods tonight. He's gonna try something.
That's right. I'm gonna try something new. This will give this is what I do. I do this all the time. Let's go back to just pick one off. Pick one. This is one that they recognize. They'll all recognize. And I gotta.
Howdy, folks.
Hang on. Oh, rewind that, and then I can close this, and I think I can do this. Now watch this, everyone. I got this. Okay, y'all ready?
Howdy, folks. Welcome to another day in the Milky Way. Today is Monday. Show on a Monday, but here we are. Hope to get you up joining us tonight. Kind of excited about this one, folks. I know we're talking about this higher mind and trying to take back our own power and different things like that. So I know I haven't read this book straight out yet, as I'm going to with you all. But I did take it's a higher mind training course, like a seminar, and I know he kind of went on with a lot, and so I'm going to incorporate some of those ideas and some of the games and practices that we
Well, wait a minute. I didn't put on the sound, did I?
Yeah, I did. I was listening to it.
Yep. Oh, you could hear it? Oh, crap. I didn't think I had the sound. Okay. Stop share. Yeah. I was like, oh, no. Share sound. Maybe you could hear it, but maybe everybody else couldn't.
It was real low, but that's okay. We got it.
Oh, yeah. That's because I didn't share the sound. Everybody else just seen it. Oh, man. I screwed that up. Okay, let's try this again. and play.
Howdy, folks. Welcome to another day of the Milky Way. Today is Monday. It's been a while since I've done a show on a Monday, but here we are.
And there we go. There we go. Now everybody could hear it. We couldn't hear it out there. Okay, now you can hear the second half. I'm sorry, I forgot to hit the share the sound. You got to share the sound or it won't come through. You'll just see pictures. Anyway, boy, we got a lot of people piling in. We got Michelle Can-Am Free, David Castle, Big Al, who's on the road somewhere, and Gaza Cav all the way from sunny Australia, where I hear it's raining. Deborah Sloan, thank you for coming. We got Elderberry. Elderberry, how you doing, man? Satyrian Sun and Scotty Boy, who's saving me a shrimp on the Barbie somewhere. I love it. I love it. Well, thank you all for coming. I hope you like my little rendition of trying to see if I could play a Brian video and saying, you know, welcome to another day in the Milky Way. Only he could say it like that. Anyway, that's great. Anyway, okay. So tonight we got another big show, and hopefully don't go too late because I got to get some sleep tonight. So we're going to try to keep it under an hour and a half or 2 hours or whatever we've been doing. So anyway, I got a book tonight, and I got all my theming is with the Northwest or the Western Indians, not the Indians on the plains, but the Northwestern Indians. And I'll give you a picture of that one in a second when I screen share here. And I'll blow this up. And all you guys can, oh, that's the wrong one. Native houses, that one seemed to be the best. And you can see here in the picture, we're going to go from California all the way up the coast and talk about these Indians and things like that. Because we know about the Plains Indians now, the buffalo and stuff, but obviously these guys out here had water, so they didn't do that, you know. Anyway, stop share and shrink it down.
No, they learned how to scuba dive.
Yeah, pretty much. So, okay. This is called The Eagle and the Raven and the Whale. Okay. At the extreme northwestern corner of the United States, beginning on the coast of the north end of California and continuing along a narrow coastal strip of British Columbia. I'll move this over so you can hear me better. British Columbia, and on up and along the tongue of Alaska, the projects southward from the main part of the Great Territory, a remarkable native culture developed with very little outside help. The discoveries and inventions that made possible the advancement of the southeastern and southwestern shape of the Iroquois changed the character of the Algonquian and created the Midwestern farmers, and even affected the mounted nomads of the plains. Could not have reached here. The culture is called the Northwest Coast. The people belong to a number of language families in which they resemble the little language islands all along California, starting in Alaska. The most important are the Tlingit. Well, we've read some of their stories. Yep. South, and I only know how to pronounce it because you said it. So south of them are the Haida in British Columbia. Both of these groups, they are not tribes, speak languages related to Athapakian, but also changed that they must have separated from the main mass of the Athapakians long ago. South of them are the Tishmayan. Speaking of, you'll get to it one of these days because I know I mispronounced that. I butchered that name. One of the number of languages that many authorities think they may form a single family, from which they propose the name Petouian. Then come the Kawaki Lut and the Nuka, whose languages are related to each other. And I'm sorry I mispronounced the name. Related to each other and also more distantly to the Salahan tongues. Tribes of Salish speech unquestionably immigrants from the plateau area are the Bella Kukla of British Columbia and the Coast Salish of Washington. The Chinook were along the Columbia River, which divides Washington from Oregon, and another group suggested as belonging to the doubtful Petouian family. North and south of them was an assortment of small groups, some of which were straight Athapascan, and in California, 3 side by side belonging to 3 quiet separate families. The Karok of unknown relationship to the Athapascan Hupas and the Algonquian Yoriks. So much diversity in a small space must mean that long ago, a very narrow coastal strip was occupied little by many groups of different origins. In the name of the culture, the word coast is important, for it was based on access to the sea and the mouths of the river. When we look for influences, we find our archaeological evidence of an earlier Eskimo-like culture in the area and various ways of doing among the historic Indians that seem to be elaborations of Eskimo ways. In the Eskimo indications, we also find traces of an ancient primitive Siberian Iron Age culture, and there was even a limited amount of actual iron, mostly worked into knives, probably of Siberian origin. There are those influences here in the items as we should expect from the plateau people, others that point to the northern Alphapakians who lived in Canada behind the high rugged coastal mountains. Here, however, is something different. Instead of primitive people affected by contact with far more advanced ones, we have a group that took more over primitive elements and then themselves proceeded to advance. The chief influence is Eskimo, and Eskimo techniques for fishing and for hunting the mammals of the sea, such as seals, whales, are beautifully developed, but the Eskimos, by and large, are not an advanced people. There is another unique element here. Up to now, we have seen that what we expect, the cultural progress followed upon farming. Farmers have a food supply that gives them spare time, and farmers do not wander about. Spare time sitting around in one place is what leads to inventions. The Plains Indians had a magnificent food supply, although not through the year, the whole of the year, but their life was mobile. They encumbered themselves with nothing that would hamper mobility. The northwestern coast had no agriculture at all, except for little tobacco planting in a few places. It had a moderate supply of berries and some access to the starchy camas root. I don't know what that is, but apparently they had it. It had poor to good hunting of deer, bear, mountain sheep, and elk, and some very good hunting of migratory birds. What it had in abundance was the food of the sea. The salmon in 5 varieties ran up the rivers in great quantities every year. There were runs of herring, smelt, and oklechin. I don't know what that is. Never heard of that fish. Also known as candlefish. I guess that solves that problem. Since it is so oily that you could pull a wick through a dry oklechin and burn it like a candle. In addition, there are halibut, cod, flounder, and quantities of shellfish. Add to these the sea mammals, hare, seal, not the fur kind, porpoise, seal, lions, and whales. There was all the food in the world along the coast. When the deep sea fish ran up the rivers in great masses to spawn were the times when food could be caught most easily and in the greatest quantities. Once the people had learned to preserve all they could catch, a rhythm developed and periods of great activity and periods of taking it easy. Having a ton or so of dried salmon stored up made a family as likely to move about as having a hang on, turn the page, equal store of corn. The great lack in the diet was starch, except for the tribes that could dig camas. This lack put the need to great warm or in damp, cool climate. Many explains the Indians' great fondness for grease and oil. Many of them took enthusiastically to planting potatoes as soon as they had them. In southern Oregon, northern California, the Indians used acorn meal, as did the California cultures. The prized delicacy for feasts was made by whipping a mixture of soapberry, oaten oil, and cold water in a froth. Ice cream has largely replaced this dish. A salmon cheese was made by storing salmon in boxes until it was runny and more than rummy. Many white men love strong cheeses, but almost without exception, we prefer cheeses that do not wave at us. Cooking was by stone boiling in watertight baskets and boxes, by baking or steaming in pits with hot stones, and by broiling. The northwestern coast people had leisure to elaborate their cookery. Among other things, around 1900, a housewife of the Kukawile tribe gave an anthropologist 150 recipes without coming to the end of her mental cookbook. The climate of the northwest coast ranges from chilly to mild. The Japanese current makes winters fairly easy, even in the north, as it brings an enormous amount of rain. That's why it's a rainforest there. Right behind the coast of the northern part rise the rugged mountains, difficult to get through. In Oregon, they become lower and gentler along, more access to land behind, in addition to the big rivers that come through the sea to the sea. The great mouth of the water dropped on the high country produces many small ones. The northern part of is land of offshore islands and narrow, deep fjords like inlets. All in all, throughout the modern times, the United States part of it, at least, has proven good country for certain kinds of wheat and for apples. It is not a land in which to raise corn, but the layout for fishing is splendid. Well, there you go. That's what I'm going to read out of that. So that is what they did there. Let's see.
A lot of resources.
Yes, they had mostly. Let's see here. We're going to go. Let's see. Here, I want to read something about this, about the whaling, because remember we were talking. They were saying about the whales. Let me just read a little bit of that. The ritual for whaling was elaborate and exacting. The equipment expensive. The chief himself was the harpooner. The line from the harpoon had to be laid on board so that it ran out without a hitch, as in our own early whaling. But the arrangement was made more difficult by the fact that 4 buoys of inflated sealskin were tied to the line at intervals. The harpoon was too heavy to throw. The whale boat sneaked up alongside the whale's left side from the rear, getting close enough for the harpooner to standing with his right foot on the gunwale to drive the harpoon home. Immediately, the crew paddled for all it's worth to break away to port before the whale crushed them. A second whaleboat, commanded by a relative of the chief, might be along and have the honor of putting in the second harpoon. When the victim became too tired from dragging the line and floats and from loss of blood, by and by, if the whale did not destroy the whalers first, it would be worn out. Then a lance with a chisel-like blade was used to cut the tendons of the whale's flukes, leaving it helpless. After that, the killing lance was driven into its heart. If the ritual had been exactly performed during the chase, the whale would have come close to the beach. If there had been some error, it would have gone out to sea. Wow. Yeah, you wouldn't want to have that thing go out to sea, would you?
No.
It'd be hard to haul that thing back. Oh, Jill Jarrett's in the house. Jules Karen Lynn, Max Vision, how you doing? Okay, so that's out of that book. Which one is this? I picked one out of here. I got my markers. Oh, not that don't fit. Okay. Okay, so anyway. What is this? Oh, that's yeah, I gotta read that. Let's see. This one's called The Island Woman. Okay. One of the most striking incidents is, oh, I can't use that one. Where'd this one go? I got too many lights. Too many lights. Sarah's in the house. Hey, he was on last week. Great show. I really enjoyed that. You got to come on again. The Island Woman. One of the most striking incidences is the numerous record tales of wolf and coyote. Is the motif of a human race spilled from a jug. Coyote, or less often, wolf, puts seeds in a wicker work jug or bottle and pours them out as human beings. Often the incident was included in an epic creation myth built around the figure of a woman who lived on an island with her mother. In those days, there were no tribes and few, if any, men to father them. To find a man, the mother sends the daughter out over the earth and the newly formed earth, according to the Mopa version, in which the mother herself is the earth maker. After several unsuccessful searches, the daughter returns with Coyote, who becomes her husband. Hey, I think we heard something similar to that once. However, as he lies with her, Coyote discovers that his wife has vagina. I guess I can say that. To save himself, Coyote disarms the woman with a blunt instrument using a stick of wood. After that, they have lived together for virtually no time at all. Wife gives birth to a myriad of tiny babies. Well, she had a litter of pups. What do you think? It's Coyote, which she drops into a jug. When the jug is full, she hands it to Coyote, ordering him to distribute its contents over the land. If, for example, the story is told by Pyramid, it will be said that Coyote poured this tribe last when the jug was nearly empty. Therefore, the Pyramid are few. According to the Glucet narrator, the last man to come out of the jug was covered with dust and tougher than all the others. He was the Glucet, something like that. Okay, now I got myths and formulas, because we're always talking about these myths, right? It says myths and formulas, a noteworthy exception to the usual Northern California pattern occurs among the Yurok, or the Hupa, and the Karok. These were the tribes that developed a sophisticated money economy and in general, a material culture. With its stools, pillows, and purses that could stand comparison with the civilizations of the West Coast, yet in small area of high culture, there was no high creator and very little speculation about ultimate origins. Short on philosophy, the myths of the York and their neighbors were rich in practical applications. Myths were recited for the purpose of curing sickness, warding off sterility, and finding deer, and accumulating wealth. Nowhere else in North America were myths narratives actually used as spells or formulas. In other words, an ordinary sounding tale about the immortals of the ancient time would be told in place of prayer. To win a husband, for example, a Karok woman could tell the following Araka story about immortals. Once there were two young women living alone, so the story goes, and every day the younger woman went out for firewood while her sister stayed home pounding acorns, yet no supply of acorns could be seen building up. Where could they be? Finally, the one who had been going out said she would stay and make baskets while her sister packed wood. As soon as she was left by herself, she looked behind the woodpile and found two dwarves. It was they who had been eating the acorns. Having suffered long enough from hunger, she picked up a stick and killed the two intruders. But these dwarves were the Wind Children, and in revenge, Wind blew the roof off the house and carried the young woman across the ocean. In her despair, she wept out loud. Soon the culture hero, lost across the ocean, appeared, saying, "I heard you singing. I thought I was crying. She said. The culture hero offered to marry her and took her home, and with that she was well satisfied. Such a story was called a medicine. Any woman desiring a husband could recite it and thereby improve their chances for marriage. Unusual as it is, the formula for medicine story was not unique to Northwestern California. 5,000 miles away, the Arauca Indians of eastern Venezuela developed the same kind of formula called tarin. In their language, many of the Araucana formulas were and still are used to ward off disease. A few are love charms. Striking similarities separated by immensely great distances are one of the plagues of mythology. The temptation to link them historically or physically is easy to ridicule, and it is hard to resist. Therefore, however, we are talking about recurrent themes or motifs that jump out of the text, like 5 world ages of Aztec lore. In the case of narrative formulas, the texts are silent, as it is not what is said, but the attitude toward it that sets up mysterious parallels. So ain't that weird? There you go. Okay.
Mysterious parallels.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
Come on, get on.
Well, that's the thing, how can one, it just tells you that people are people. And no matter where you go, it's kind of catchy. It's that 100 monkey thing.
Yep.
Where if I think about, too many people think of it here, they'll think of it across. They don't have to travel. It's all in your mind, people. Send message telepathically. Michelle Can-Am Free is here, and Grumpy Stack, who's grumpy all the time. Anyway, what do you got for us tonight? My theme was California and the Northwestern Indians. See, and that's another thing. They had metal. They made chairs and furniture because they had all the fish. They didn't need to move. They settled down, made houses, kind of, they were kind of industrious. They had, I like that, what they said about having, if you have plenty of food, then you have idle time, which allows you to invent.
Yep.
I like
because they didn't have to spend all their time hunting, and I mean, so.
Yes.
All right, open up the little book to page 62, please.
So do I am working on. Okay. A little bit too far. Yeah, closer. Five. I'm having a hard time tonight. 6. Oh, there it is. 62, just like that. The Sacred Weed. That the one?
Yep, that's the one.
All right, hang on a second.
Now I'm just going to give a little preface while you're getting there.
Okay,
Let me find the. I kind of went back to the beginning of the book. As Robert and I have been doing this, he's been letting me choose the stories out of here. And it just kind of, let's see where the book leads us tonight kind of thing. And it's interesting that I keep getting led back to creation type things. But this isn't about creation though, but this is about the creation of the medicines. like the different tribes have, different medicines or tobaccos, or, when we learned about this a couple of weeks back with the fact that tobacco, to the Plains Indians, they didn't have tobacco like the Eastern Indians did. Their quote tobacco in ceremonies was to other types of herbs. So when they said tobacco, it didn't necessarily mean the plant tobacco. But anyway.
Yeah, I just want to share this. I mean, we were just talking about medicine, and look at, they told story from, see, we're out like right on track. See what I mean? I'm talking about one thing and you're talking about the same thing. Look at here. I'm going to blow this up. This is out of this book called what is it? The Native Houses. And here's a house. I got to blow it up so people can see it a little bit bigger. And this is a northwest. Ooh, that's a little bit too big, isn't it?
Maybe not scroll.
I got to make it a little bit smaller.
Go down.
There we go. Native house, earth-covered lodge in Unalaska Island. The fence is built to keep stock away. So that's an Indian house in the northwestern part in Alaska, believe it or not. Well, I suppose that's a pretty good idea. You make your house out of mud and trees, and you got to stay warm, right?
Yeah, I'm reading at the bottom. It says the fence was built to keep stock away.
Yeah.
It wasn't to keep them in, it was to keep them away from the house, from eating it.
Yeah, I suppose, you know how critters are. They would climb right up on top of that house to eat the grass on the roof, and you get something big up there, it'd fall right through.
So they put a fence around the house to keep the critters from crawling on it. Ain't that cool?
Yeah, I wonder if there's any more in here. I gotta shrink this down. I was hoping there would be more pictures here. It was all about native houses, and I was hoping to see some houses more than that. Apparently not. It's all about talking about houses. Well, folks, I'm sorry, but no pictures of more houses.
Okie dokie.
So I guess we'll just move on with that. Let's scroll through here. Nope. Underground house. Underground winter house. Square. Oh, that tells you about. This is pretty cool. It tells you what's in there. Underground or semi-salt. Underground. Yeah, they built like winter huts, like beehives, pits 4 foot deep, large sticks support roof of poles, earth-covered entrance by a ladder through the holes in the roof.
Yeah.
Well, wow.
I met some women from a tribe up there in British Columbia, I guess it would be, and the next one over, I can't remember, up there in Canada, and they had pictures, and they were talking about how they climbed up the ladder at, in the winter time. And, and it was the hole in the roof was there all the time. It was the smoke hole as well. And, the reason they had it was because there'd be 12 foot of snow. So they had 12-foot poles because there was 12 foot of snow. I was like, what? And she showed me pictures inside and outside and all around. And she did a slide presentation. And I was just amazed. I was like, oh man, Plains Indians, they had the teepee. These folks, oh my gosh. But anyway.
Yeah, well, when you're settled in for a while, I guess you got to think of better ways. Hey, we're going to stay here for a while. Let's build a good house.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like they had nails or hammers. I mean, they had twine and some leather stuff, and twigs and branches. It ain't like they could drill a hole or nothing. I mean,
actually, they could drill holes.
Really? They had something to drill.
Yeah, they found softwoods, hardwoods, and they could put a piece of flint and notch it into the end of you know how you start a fire by rubbing a stick like this, right?
Yeah.
So they could do the same thing with a piece of flint or a rock or something and drill through a hole through another stick. So yeah, they could drill.
Oh, well, that's cool. I did not know that. Did not know that. Thank you for telling me that. Okay, well, I got this. Oh, there we go.
All right, you ready now?
Yeah, I am
We're
ready.
gonna run long.
I know. There you go. We're ready. I'm ready.
All right, let me get some good old coffee here. Well, I want to thank you all for coming tonight, and we appreciate your patronage. The sacred weed, Blackfoot. For longer than anyone knows, Indians throughout the Americas, North and South, have smoked tobacco and other plants for pleasure and for praying. The smoke was the Great Spirit's breath, taking the prayers up to the ones above. With a pipe in his hands, a man could speak nothing but the truth. Sir Walter Raleigh learned the use of tobacco from the Indians. When he first had a smoke in a London inn, the bartender, thinking that he was on fire, emptied a tankard of ale over him. To the white man, smoking became an addiction, but to the Native American, pipe and tobacco were sacred and smoking was a holy ritual. A man who had killed a member of his own tribe could not smoke ritually with the others. He had to smoke a mean little pipe all by himself. Hard punishment. There once were 4 brothers, all spiritual men who had power. In a vision, the oldest of them heard a voice saying, "Out there is a sacred weed, pick it and burn it." The man looked around, saw the strange weed, and put it in the fire. It gave off a very pleasing aroma. Then the second brother had a dream in which a voice said, "Take this herb, chop it fine, put it in a hide bag." The man did what he was told, and the dry herb in his hide bag was wonderfully fragrant. The third brother had a vision in which he saw a man hollowing out a bone and putting the strange weed into it. A voice said, "Make 4 pipes like this." And the third brother carved 4 pipes out of an animal leg's bones. Then the youngest of the 4 brothers had a vision. A voice told him, "You 4 men, light your pipes and smoke. Inhale the smoke, exhale it. Let the smoke ascend to the clouds." The voice also taught him the songs and prayers that went with smoking. So the 4 medicine men, born of the same mother, smoked together. This was the first time that men had ever smoked, and they sang and prayed together as they did so. The brothers who called the sacred weed Nowakosis were meant to teach its use to the people, but Nowakosis made them powerful and wise and clear-minded, and they did not want to share it with the others. They planted the sacred weed in a sacred place that only they knew. They guarded the songs and prayers and rituals that went with the smoking. They formed a tobacco society, just the 4 of them. So there was anger, there was war, there was restlessness of spirit, there was impiety. Nawakasosis was meant to calm anger, to make men worship, to make men peace, to ease the mind. But without the sacred herb, unity and peace were lacking. A young man called Bull by himself said to his wife, "These 4 powerful ones have been given something good to share with the people, but they are keeping it for themselves. So things are bad. I must find a way to plant and reap the sacred weed they call Nawakosis." Bull by himself and his wife went to a sacred lake and set up their teepee close by its shore. The man left every day to hunt and look for the plant, Nawakosis. The woman stayed in the lodge to quill, tan, and prepare food. One day while she was alone, she heard somebody singing beautifully. See, she searched everywhere to find the source of the music and discovered that it was coming from a beaver house close by the shore. It must be the beavers singing, she thought. Their songs are lovely. I hope they don't stop. Though her husband came home with plenty of meat, he had not found Nawakosis. The woman called his attention to the music, but he said, I hear nothing. It's your imagination. No, she said, I can hear it clearly. Put your ear to the beaver house. He did, but still heard nothing. Then the wife took her knife and made a hole in the beaver lodge. Through it, they could not only hear the beavers sing, but also watch them performing a strange, beautiful dance. My young brothers, the wife called to them, be of a sharing spirit. Teach me your wonderful song and your medicine. The beavers answered, close the hole you made because it lets the cold in. Then we'll come out and visit you. So she sealed the wall up, and that night 4 beavers came to Bull by himself's lodge. As soon as they were inside, they turned themselves into humans. 4 nice-looking young men. One asked, what have you come here for? I have come, said Bull by himself, to find the sacred weed called Nawakosis. Then this is the right place, said the man beavers. We are water people and Nawakosis is water medicine. We will give you this sacred herb, but first you must learn the songs, the prayers, the dances, the ceremonies that go with it. There are 4 powerful men in our tribe, said Bull by himself, who have the medicine and the knowledge, but keep them from us. Ah, said the man beavers, that's wrong. This sacred weed is meant to be shared. Here is what you must do. By day, go out and get the skin of every 4-legged and 2-legged creature that lives in and around the water, except, of course, the beaver. You must get the skins of the muskrat, the otter, of the duck, of the kingfisher, of all the creatures like that, because they represent water. Sun and water mean life. Sun begets life, and water makes it grow. So every day, Bull by himself went out for the skins while his wife scraped, tanned, and smoked them. And every night, the 4 man beavers came to teach them the prayers, songs, and dances that go with the Nawakosis. After a while, the beaver said, now all is ready. Now you have all the skins, and now you have the knowledge. Make the skins, which represent water power, into a bag, into a medicine bundle. Tomorrow night, we'll come again for the last time to tell you what to do. The following night, the beavers came as they had promised. They brought with them the sacred weed, Nawakosis. The top of the stalks was covered with little round seeds, and the man beavers put the seeds into the medicine bundle the woman had prepared. It's planting time now, said the beavers. Don't touch Nawakosis before you're ready to plant. Choose a place where there is not too much shade and not too much sunlight. Mix plenty of brown earth with plenty of black earth and keep the soil loose. Say the prayers we have taught you. Then you, Bull by himself, must take a deer horn with its point, make holes in the earth, 1 hole for each seed, and you, his wife, must use a buffalo horn spoon to drop 1 seed into each hole. Keep singing the songs we taught you all the while. Then both of you dance lightly over this earth, tamping down the seeds. After that, you just wait for Nawakosis to grow. Now we have taught you everything, and now we go. The nice-looking young men left, turning back into beavers as they went. Bull by himself and his wife planted the sacred weed as they had been told. The 4 medicine men brothers said to one another, "What can this man, Bull by himself, and his wife be planting?" Their songs sound familiar. They sent somebody to find out, and this person came back saying, they are planting nawakosas, doing it in a sacred manner. The 4 powerful men begin to laugh. No, it can't be. It's some useless weed they're planting. No one but us can plant nawakosas. No one but us can use it. No one but us has its power. But when it was time to harvest nawakosas, a great hailstorm destroyed the secret tobacco patch of the 4 medicine brothers. Nothing was left, and they had not saved a single seed. They said to each other, "Perhaps this man and his wife did plant nawakosas after all. Perhaps the hail hasn't destroyed their tobacco patch." Again, the 4 brothers sent someone to find out, and that person came back saying, "This man and his wife had no hail on their field. Here is what they have been growing." He showed some brothers some of the leaves. "It is indeed nawakosas," they said, shaking their heads in wonder. Thus, with the help of the beaver people, Bull by himself and his wife brought the sacred tobacco to the tribes, who have been smoking it in a sacred manner ever since.
All right. Wow. I wonder what kind of tobacco was it? Wacky tobacco or regular tobacco?
Well, now the Blackfoot, so this probably would not be, it was probably different herbs and so forth. And some of those tribes still have their own sacred medicine. They don't necessarily share with everybody. I mean, they may, share it with other members or whatever, but it's just not common knowledge. So next one is the next story in the book.
Okay.
What I was going to say about the important thing about the tobacco and the pipes is that if you couldn't smoke the sacred pipe, then your prayers never reached heaven. I mean, that's like, what? So you could be saying them and they'd be going out there and they'd be going, but to have the sacred pipe and to be able to put the prayers upon the smoke so that grandfather's spirit would hear them, that's a much bigger deal. That's like a direct line to God,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so, and without that, and the people just felt like they didn't have any ceremony. There was nothing to it. There was nothing to life.
Mm-hmm. Peyote. Boy, you got it all. I bet you Scotty Boy's thinking, Mary Ewins is going to be here saying puff, puff, and David Castle too. They're puff, puff. It's going to be puff, puff, pass it. All night long.
Yeah, but we're not quite talking about that, but
I know, but it's kind of funny.
But now peyote, I have had peyote, and that boy.
Okay, well, you've had more of this stuff than I have. What is peyote? I am ignorant to the fact.
Peyote is from a cactus.
It's a cactus? Really?
Yes. Out in Mexico, South, and so forth, and supposedly certain places in New Mexico or out in the Four Corners area. I got it before I knew about the fact that Indians were taking it. I took it as a hippie. Okay. But let me tell you, I had some kind of Indian type experiences. That stuff is powerful.
Oh, wow.
Goodness gracious. Yeah, you can talk to God, let me tell you. And a bunch of other things too. It's not, let me say it like this. There are a lot of people out there who are talking about ayahuasca and this and that and the other thing.
Yeah.
I've taken my share of mushrooms and LSD. And I don't necessarily advocate it for anybody. But I will absolutely tell you that if you're on a sure enough vision quest, you got to kind of sort of include it. You just have to. But I'm not advocating. But here is how Grandfather Peyote came to the Indian people. Okay. This is Brule Sioux. By the way, I might add this in that people who tripped, who took LSD or peyote or mushrooms or whatever, they're tripping. Why? They want to see something else. So in a way, because we have no native traditions to where someone could go on a vision quest legitimately, they take it because they're still looking for a vision quest, but it's not in our society, you know?
Yeah.
And of course it can be addicting, and it did to me for a while and so forth. But to the point though, if someone had said, here, Mr. Dave, you want to go on a mescaline trip? You want to go have some peyote? Okay, here, this is how you do it. Okay. And this is the procedure. And it would have been different, right?
Yeah.
So, but anyway, how Grandfather Peyote came to the Indian people, the Brule Sioux. Vision quest in which an individual seeks spiritual power are common to many Indian tribes. The peyote plant is often used by the Sioux and the Cheyenne in the rituals associated with such quests. Sweat lodge, a solitary vigil, a flesh offering. The plant is often considered to be a human spirit and is a sacrament in the Native American church founded by a Comanche chief in the last century. Henry Crow Dog, the father of the man who told this story, was among those who introduced the peyote religion to the Sioux in the 1920s. Now, he introduced this in the 1920s, but the Sioux and other folks had been using this for a long, long time. Okay. This is how Grandfather Peyote came to the Indian people. Long ago, before the white man, there was a tribe living far south of the Sioux in the land of deserts and mesas. These people were suffering from a sickness, and many died of it. One old woman had a dream that she would find an herb, a root, which would save her people. The woman was old and frail, but taking her little granddaughter, she went on a vision quest to learn how to find this sacred herb. They walked away from the camp until they were lost. Arriving at the top of a lonely hill, the grandmother made a brush shelter for herself and the young one. Without water or food, they were weak. And as night fell, they huddled together, not knowing what to do. Suddenly, they felt the wing beats of a huge bird, an eagle flying from the east towards the west. The old woman raised her arms and prayed to the eagle for wisdom and power. Toward morning, they saw the figure of a man floating in the air about 4 steps above their heads. The old woman heard a voice. You want water and food and do not know where to find it. I have a medicine for you. It will help you. This man's arm was pointing to a spot on the ground about 4 steps from where the old woman was sitting. She looked and saw a peyote plant, a large Grandfather Peyote plant with 16 segments. She did not know what it was, but she took her bone knife and cut the green part off. And there was moisture, the peyote juice, the water of life. The old woman and her granddaughter drank it and were refreshed. The sun went down again and the second night came. The old woman prayed to the spirit. I am sacrificing myself for the people. Have pity on me. Help me. And the figure of the man appeared again, hovering above her as before, and she heard the voice saying, "You are lost now, but you will find your people again, and you will save them. When the sun rises 2 more times, you will find them." The grandmother ate some more of the sacred medicine and gave some to the girl. And a power entered them through the herb, bringing them knowledge and understanding and a sacred vision. Experiencing this new power, the old woman and her granddaughter stayed awake all night. Yet in the morning, when the sun rose and shone upon the hide bag with the peyote, the old one felt strong. She said, "Granddaughter, pray with this new herb. It has no mouth, but in it's telling me many things." During the 3rd night, the spirits came again and taught the old woman how to show her people the proper way to use the medicine. In the morning, she got up thinking, "This one plant won't be enough to save my people. Could it have been the only herb in this world? How can I find more?" Then she heard many small voices calling, "Over here, come over here. I'm the one to pick." There were peyote plants guiding her to their hiding places among the thorn bushes and the chaparral. So the old woman and the girl picked the herbs and filled the hide bag with them. At nightfall, once more, they saw the spirit man silhouetted against the setting sun. He pointed out the way to their camp so they could return quickly. Though they had taken no food or water for 4 days and nights, the sacred medicine had kept them strong-hearted and strong-minded. When they arrived home, their relatives were happy to have them back, but everybody was still sick and many were dying. The old woman told the people, "I have brought you a new sacred medicine which will help you." She showed the men how to use this pejuta, this holy herb. The spirit had taught her the ceremony, and the medicine had given her the knowledge through the mind power which dwells within it. Under her direction, the men put up a teepee and made a fire. At that time, there was no leader, no roadman to guide them, and the people had to learn how to perform the ceremony step by step from the ground up. Everybody, men and women, old and young, ate 4 buttons of the new medicine. A boy baby was breast nursing, and the peyote power got into him through his mother's milk. He was sucking his hand and he began to shake it like a gourd rattle. A man sitting next to the teepee entrance got into the power and caught a song just by looking at the baby's arm. A medicine man took a rattle of rawhide and began to shake it. The small stones inside the rattle were the voice of Grandfather Peyote, and everybody understood what it was saying. Another man grabbed a drum and beat it, keeping time with the song and the voice inside the rattle. The drumming was good, but it did not yet have the right sound, because in that first ceremony, there was no water in the drum. One woman felt the spirit telling her to look for a cottonwood tree. After the sun rose, all the people followed her as Grandfather Peyote guided her towards the west. They saw a rabbit jumping out of a hole inside a dried up tree and knew that this was the sacred cottonwood. They cut down the tree and hollowed out the trunk like a drum where the rabbit hole had been. At the woman's bidding, they filled it with fresh spring water, the water of life. On the way back to camp, a man felt the power telling him to pick up 5 smooth, rounded pebbles and to cover the drum with a piece of tanned moose hide. He used the pebbles to make the knobs around the rim of the drum so that he could tie the hide to it with a rawhide thong. And when he beat the drum, it sounded good, as if a spirit had gotten hold of it. When the night came, the people made a fire inside the teepee and took the medicine again. Guided by peyote power, the old woman looked into the flames and saw a heart. like the heart-shaped leaf of the cottonwood tree. Thus she knew that the Great Spirit, who is also in grandfather peyote, wanted to give his heart to the red men of this continent. She told the man tending the fire to form the glowing embers into the shape of a heart. And the people all saw it beat in the rhythm with the drum. A little later, one helper who was under the spirit power saw that the hide rope formed a star at the bottom of the drum. He shaped the glowing coals of the fire into a star and then into a moon, because the power of the star and the spirit of the moon had come into the teepee. One man sitting opposite the door had a vision in which he was told to ask for water. The old woman brought fresh, cool water in a skin bag, and they all drank, and in this way came under the power. Feeling the spirit of the water, the man who was in charge of the fire shaped the embers into the outline of a water bird. And from then on, the water bird became the chief symbol of the holy medicine. Around the fire in this man-made half moon out of earth, and all along the top of it, he drew a groove with his finger. Thus he formed a road, the road of life. He said that anybody with the gift of Wakankayapi, which means having love and heart for the people, should sit right there. And from that day on, the man who was running a meeting was called the roadman. In this way, the people made the first peyote altar, and after they had drunk the water, they thanked the peyote. Looking at the fire in the shape of the sacred water bird, they prayed to the four directions, and someone sprinkled green cedar on the fire. The fragrant, sweet-smelling smoke was the breath of grandfather peyote, the spirit of all green and growing things. Now the people had everything they needed: the sacred herb, the drum, the gourd, the fire, the water, the cedar. From that moment on, they learned to know themselves. Their sick were cured, and they thanked the old woman and her grandchild for having brought this blessing to them. They were the Comanche nation, and from them, the worship of the sacred herb spread to all the tribes throughout the land. Now, in reference to that story, as far as early on in the story where she said, you know, we don't have enough, and then they heard the tiny little voices say, here we are, here we are. Well, I honestly have had been in cow fields and had a mushroom. And within 20 minutes be so high that you could literally hear the other mushrooms. I'm not kidding. Me and my buddy, we could find them in the tall grass, and where it didn't appear like there were any mushrooms at all in the field, we could hear them. But to say that the old woman heard the peyote, I believe it. I mean, I really do. Yep. Okay.
That's cool. See, you got experience. So that was one of my questions too, is, you know, I was thinking about after hearing that is it, if you did want to do something like that, is it best to do it in like a ceremony, or just like you said, go out in the field and grab mushrooms and see what happens?
Well, there are, you know, my first, you know, trial with a hallucinogenic was literally by accident. And somebody offered me some electric Coke back in 1970. And I drank a big portion of it. And the young lady kept saying, oh, wow, man, that's a 4-way hit of White Sunshine. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, about 15 minutes later, I'm tripping and lights are going and monsters are walking around, and I'm like, holy crap. So I had wished that somebody had, you know, sat down with me for my first trip and said, hey, but consequently later on, then I got with a bunch of folks who used to go like floating down the river and stuff. And they would take some type of hallucinogen or mushrooms or whatever and go floating for 3 or 4 hours on the river. That is very enjoyable, talk about getting close to nature. But, it's up to the person. Not everybody is wired to want to expand their mind. I had my mind expanded, without my knowledge, it was by accident. But after that, I was like, well, I survived. I was high for 2 days. I didn't come down. And but when I did, I was like, I want to try this again, but on my terms. I want to try it on my terms. So yep. I have learned that, taking something like that's that powerful at a party or out somewhere is not what you want to do. If you really want to get it, then go out somewhere where you're safe and you're with somebody who has tried it, done it, or something before. If you're going to just do it by yourself for the hell of it, or a bunch of people, hey, let's try this and see, be careful.
Yep. Well, words to the wise, be careful. I totally agree. I totally agree with you. Because I always wonder about that. I never did drugs of any sort, so it's like, I don't know. It'd be kind of a scary thing.
I got one more. It's the next one in line. It's
all right.
Quest. And I know it's 11:09, but hopefully this won't take too long.
All right.
It's
Sounds
only a
good.
couple of pages.
Yep, no problem. The Vision Quest. Hey, it goes right in line with
exactly. That's why I kind of wanted to finish up with these 3 stories. But anyway, the Vision Quest, Brural Sioux. The Vision Quest is a tradition among the Plains people. A man or woman seeking the way on the road of life or trying to find the answer to a personal problem may go on a vision quest for knowledge and enlightenment. This may mean staying on top of a hill or inside a vision pit, alone, without food or water, for as long as 4 days and nights. It is hard, but if the spirit voices reveal or confer a vision that shapes a person's life, then the quest is worth all the suffering. The following tale, however, treats the vision quest with less than complete solemnity, with Sioux medicine men, lame deer's characteristic quirks. A young man wanted to go on a hanbalekia, or a vision seeking, to try for a dream that would give him the power to be a great medicine man. Having a high opinion of himself, he felt sure that he had been created to become a great among his people, and that the only thing lacking was a vision. The young man was daring and brave, eager to go up the mountaintop. He had been brought up by good, honest people who were wise in the ancient ways and who prayed for him. All through the winter, they were busy getting him ready, feeding him wasna, corn, and plenty of good meat to make him strong. At every meal, they set aside something for the spirits, so they would help him to get a great vision. His relatives thought he had the power even before he went up, but that was putting the cart before the horse, or rather the travois before the horse, as this is an Indian legend. When at last he started on his quest, it was a beautiful morning in late spring. The grass was up, the leaves were out, nature was at its best. 2 medicine men accompanied him. They put him up in a sweat lodge to purify him in the hot white breath of the sacred steam. They sanctified him with the incense of sweet grass, rubbing his body with sage, fanning it with an eagle's wing. They went to the hilltop with him to prepare the vision pit and make an offering of tobacco bundles. Then they told the young man to cry, to humble himself, to ask for holiness, to cry for power, for a sign from the Great Spirit, for a gift which would make him into a medicine man. After they had done all that they could, they left him there. He spent the first night in the hole the medicine man had dug for him, trembling and crying out loudly. Fear kept him awake, yet he was cocky, ready to wrestle with the spirits for the vision, the power he wanted. But no dreams came to ease his mind. Toward morning, before the sun came up, he heard a voice in the swirling white mist of dawn, speaking from no particular direction, as if it came from different places. It said, "See here, young man, there are other spots you could have picked. There are other hills around here. Why don't you go there to cry for a dream? You disturbed us all night, all us creatures, animals and birds. You even kept the trees awake. We couldn't sleep. Why should you cry here? You're a bright young man, not ready or worthy to receive a vision." But the young man clenched his teeth, determined to stick it out, resolved to force that vision to come. He spent another day in the pit, begging for enlightenment which would not come, and then another night of fear and cold and hunger. The young man cried out in terror. He was paralyzed with fear, unable to move. The boulder dwarfed everything in view. It towered over the vision pit, but just as it was an arm's length away and about to crush him, it stopped. Then as the young man stared open-mouthed, his hair standing up, his eyes starting out of his head, the boulder rolled up the mountain, all the way to the top. He could hardly believe what he saw. He was still cowering motionless when he heard a roar and rumble again and saw the immense boulder coming down at him once more. This time he managed to jump out of his vision pit at the last moment. The boulder crushed it, obliterated it, grinding the young man's peace pipe and gourd rattle into dust. Again, the boulder rolled up the mountain, and again it came down. I'm leaving, hollered the young man, regaining his power of motion. He scrambled down the hill as fast as he could. This time the boulder actually leapfrogged over him, bouncing down the slope, crushing and pulverizing everything in its way. He ran unseeingly, stumbling, falling, getting up again. He did not even notice the boulder rolling up once more and coming down for the fourth time. On this last and most fearful descent, it flew through the air in a giant leap, landing right in front of him and embedding itself so deeply in the earth that only its top was visible. The ground shook itself like a wet dog coming out of a stream and flung the young man this way and that. Gaunt, bruised, and shaken, he stumbled back to his village. To the medicine man, he said, I have received no vision and gained no knowledge. He returned to the pit, and when the dawn arrived once more, he heard the voice again. Stop disturbing us. Go away. The same thing happened on the third morning. By this time, he was faint with hunger, thirst, and anxiety. Even the air seemed to oppress him, to fight him. He was panting. His stomach felt shriveled up, shrunk tight against his backbone. But he was determined to endure one more night, the fourth and the last. Surely the vision would come, but again he cried out for it out of the darkness and loneliness until he was hoarse, and still he had no dream. Just before daybreak, he heard the same voice again, very angry. Why are you still here? He knew then that he had suffered in vain. Now he would have to go back to his people and confess that he had gained no knowledge, no power. The only thing he could tell them was that he got bawled out every morning. Sad and cross, he replied, I can't help myself. This is my last day and I'm crying my eyes out. I know you told me to go home, but who are you to give me orders? I don't know you. I'm going to stay until my uncles come to fetch me, whether you like it or not. All at once there was a rumble from a larger mountain that stood behind the hill. It became a mighty roar, and the whole hill trembled. The wind started to blow. The young man looked up and saw a boulder poised on the mountain summit. He saw lightning hit it, saw it sway. Slowly the boulder moved. Slowly at first, then faster and faster, it came tumbling down the mountainside, turning up the earth, snapping huge trees as if they were little twigs, and the boulder was coming right down on him. I have made the spirits angry. It was all for nothing. Well, you did find out one thing, said the older of the two, was his uncle. You went after your vision like a hunter after a buffalo, or a warrior after scalps. You were fighting the spirits. You thought they owed you a vision. Suffering alone brings no vision, nor does courage, nor does sheer willpower. A vision comes as a gift born of humility, of wisdom, and of patience. If from your vision quest you have learned nothing but this, then you have already learned much. Think about it.
Nice.
So sometimes there are people who, would swear that, oh, there's no lesson in this or whatever, when, they just assume that because they didn't get what they wanted, there was no lesson. You know what I mean?
Yes.
But anyway. All right, Mr. Robert.
Yeah. I know what time it is.
You want me? We got time for a card then?
Well, that's what I'm saying. I know what time it is. It's card pulling time.
All right. Let me go ahead and do it and not waste time. I'll get right at it.
All right. Well, I tell you, I appreciate that. That was a really good story. I like that. I'm going to have to write some of that down, and that's the thing, is a vision or a dream that you get is to you, and it's because you needed it, or it was to help, like the old lady who went out and the eagle guy turned into a man and then he gave her the peyote. It's because she wanted to save her people, and he came along, but now she just went out there and said, I want something to make me, whatever. She probably wouldn't have got it. Right.
Yeah. And early on, he was like, he was well prepared and his family was good. And he was sure that he was going to be the best medicine man, so he took ego with him. And
yes,
if you're
that's
going
the
to
word.
look for the true vision quest, then you got to leave all that stuff behind, and so humility, that's a biggie. So there are folks who swear that nothing happened, and then later on you go, well, wait a minute, what about this? Oh, wow, I forgot about that. So because during meditation, if you're meditate and off doing a fire ceremony and you're there for hours, there are a lot of thoughts that go through your head in those couple hours that you're there. And so unless you got a pad and paper and write some of that stuff down, after 2 or 3 hours and and you're unhooked from the sky or whatever, the interesting thing is then that you've got to chew your cud. You got to allow all the stuff that you went through during your meditation, during your ceremony, during your fire ceremony, and allow yourself to go, wow, there's stuff in here. I thought about this, and I thought about that, and I thought about this, and I thought about that. And what does all this mean? Well, sometimes it's just little stories. It might not mean anything at the moment, but it will, tomorrow it might, or the next day or next week.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So,
okay. So for a show of hands, everybody, give me a hands up or something if you have had a vision that's helped you out, or voice or whatever.
Or meditation.
In your meditation. I want to know. Or in meditation. Exactly. I want to see how many in the chat have had that experience. That's a good one. I'll watch chat. You pick a card.
Already did.
All right, we're good.
And I'm looking. Oh my goodness.
Elderberries on farmers hours. Oh no, what happened? Well, last week's
just interesting how these cards come out. I'm just saying.
Okay.
For everybody.
Elderberry's right. No dice. Ego has to go. Ego go out the door and you'll learn a lot.
Yep. And you have to. All right. So number 11 is the number.
Mm-hmm.
And moose is the animal and the animal. And it's self-esteem.
Fitting the story.
How about that for tonight for a wrap up of stuff, right?
Absolutely.
Because after that last story, he had all the self-esteem in the world, but he never got a vision.
Yes.
Moose, help me to honor the gifts I can and recognize my worthiness as long as I live. And recognize my worthiness, because there was a long time I just didn't feel like I was worthy for God to help me, to spirits. I wasn't worthy enough, and for anything spiritual or not. Just bad depression and stuff like that, right? So help me to honor the gifts I can and recognize my worthiness as long as I live. There are folks out there who need to repeat this like as a daily mantra. Moose is found in the North America, in the north of the medicine wheel as buffalo, as is buffalo. North represents the place of wisdom. Self-esteem is the medicine of moose because it represents the power of recognizing that wisdom has been used in a situation and that recognition or a pat on the back is deserved. Moose is the largest member of the deer family and has great strength. The call of the male moose is an awesome thing to hear on a musky spring night. His pride in his maleness and his desire to share his seed with a moose cow, are displays of a sense of self-esteem. The bellow of a male moose can be viewed as a positive force, since it represents his willingness to tell the world about his feelings. This tell the world trait contains a joyfulness, which only comes with a sense of accomplishment. There is no greater joy than a job well done. This trait is therefore not a seeking of approval, but rather an enjoyment of sharing because of the spontaneous explosion of joy that comes from the deepest part of one's being. I got to read that again. This trait is therefore not seeking of approval, but rather an enjoyment of sharing because the spontaneous explosion of joy that comes from the deepest part of one's being. When you share something with somebody and really share it and both of you are laughing, two girls on a tilt-a-whirl that are giggling and laughing and having, there's just, there is that explosion of joy. The wisdom woven throughout the scenario is that creation constantly brings forth new ideas and further creation. So if you think creation's over, nah, spring's fixing to bust here. Moose is telling us that joy should be shouted with pride. The wisdom in doing this shouting is that the joy is catching. In a sense, the bellowing is a way for all of us to lighten up and give ourselves or each other a job well done. Moose medicine people have the ability to know when to use the gentleness of deer, and when to activate the stampede of buffalo. They understand the balance between giving orders to get things done and having a willingness to do things themselves. The wisdom of moose medicine is akin to the grandfather warrior who has long since put away his war paint and is now advising the young bucks to cool their blood. Moose medicine is often found in elders who have walked the good red road and who have seen many things in their earth walk. Their joy lies in being the teachers of the children and being the first ones to give encouragement. And that's something all of us should do. If you see somebody do a job well done, if you know them or not, say, hey, that's a good job, or that looks nice.
Yeah, it means a lot to people.
It does. This is not to say that moose medicine people do not use their wisdom to warn as well as to give praise, because they do. Moose medicine people know what to say, when to say it, and to whom. So when you're saying stuff, think of a moose. The elders have honored the tribal law for all gifts of wisdom, for their teaching abilities, and for the calmness they impart in counsel. If you are wise beyond your years and have the gift of moose medicine, use this gift to encourage others to learn and grow. That's what we should be doing. We should be helping other folks to learn and grow. There are many facets to the wisdom of moose medicine. If you have chosen the moose card, you have reason to feel good about something that you have accomplished on your journey. It may be that we're all here together now. That's an accomplishment right there. This may be a habit you've broken, a completion of some sort, an insight on a goal, or a new sense of self that you may have fought hard to earn. It is time feeling harmonious pride and of recognizing those who aided you in the process. So thank all of you for coming to our show to make this possible. One good exercise in moose medicine is to write down the things that you love about yourself and your progress in life. Then apply these same things to friends, family, co-workers, and to life. Don't forget to share the findings with others. They need the encouragement as much as you do. So if you learn a lesson, share it in a nice, kind, friendly way. So our medicine card for tonight, for this week.
Moose.
Moose.
Moose. Moose. Drop the ego, self-esteem, and give it to others. Because what was it? We learned in that one thing where the tribe taught the children to give, to find people and give your stuff away. If somebody, you got a prize visit, give it to them. It brings you more happiness to give things to others than it does for you to hoard a whole bunch of other stuff. Remember that?
Yep.
So yeah, I guess that's humbling yourself to others in a way, getting rid of that self-esteem. Like, look, I have the best bouncy ball ever, and it's mine. It's all mine. It's all mine. But you know what? You can have it because I can find another one and blah, blah, blah,
And I'm learning this in at 69 and a half, running joke. The idea though that, I can't take it with me. So if if somebody says, hey man, I really like that rock or whatever sitting in the house, I go, you really like it? You're going to take care of it? Yeah. Okay. It's yours. Bye. One more thing I don't have to worry about. But, and there are many, I'd say prominent folks within tribes that they just sort of knew that, and they had all these ribbons and bows and things that they had won from dancing and presents and gifts from people over the years. And they just started giving things away. By the time that they passed away, they only had a couple of items left.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that they had passed on to good people as gifts, So I get it. I get it. Here.
Yeah. And I noticed that with older people, They know when the end of life is coming, and they start, giving this away and giving that. It's like, that guy could really use that stuff. Oh, this person could. They're going to get a lot more use out of it than I will, and it's been sitting on shelf for 20 years anyway, so let it go.
And it ain't like I feel like I'm going to be dying tomorrow. That ain't it. I can see that if I, this thing's been here for 20 years, in some cases 40 now, that, if you want this, adios, I'm not going to hold on to it any longer. There's some kind of, for me, in a way, it was hoarding, because as my first 3 years, I didn't have anything when I got adopted. There was nothing, no toys, no nothing, right? And so that started off my kind of, but the other thing is that I was hoarding junk because I thought I could repurpose it, and it just didn't work out that way. So, but anyway, hoarding anything though ain't good for whatever the reason. So
that's probably true. That is probably true.
So, well, everybody for tuning in tonight.
Yeah, we had a good crowd. They decided to show up and listen to us instead of Biden giving his speech, which was probably, we were probably 10 times more interesting than that guy. So no, everybody, don't forget to join us on Saturday. We have a special. Oh my God, this is going to be one for the record books. We have Living Life, Hope, and Love with Delaney Pearl Jones. She is going to come on, and we're going to do, she's finally got a computer, and she's going to come on, and we're going to do a little bit of talking about suicide stuff, and anybody, David, it's up to you too. You want to come on and say your piece about that. I know you have some, or maybe some stuff about that. I think it's a thing in our group. I think it's more out there than what we really know. That's what I think. And it's hidden. It happens. People, I feel bad, and I've never really had that thought in my head, just depression doesn't enter my head, either. I'm just just plow through it, keep on moving, I'm not dying in the woods. I'm surviving to the end. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think on a couple of my shows, I've discussed it because I tried hanging myself at the age of 17, 18 years old. Mm-hmm. And, it's not a fun thing. Mm-hmm. And the stigma that people stick you with, oh, you did it because you wanted attention. No, you really don't know what I was going through. I really wanted to die. I'm so glad I didn't, but and I've attempted things over the years, just by get too drunk and hope you hit something on the way home kind of thing. Like, I don't care. That's not a good lifestyle either. That's self-destructive, but Saturday night, I would love to hang out, at least in the chat, but
come on out. And like I said, this is going to be Delaney's show. I don't know what she's got planned. She says she's got cards and rods and crystals and things, and I'm sure she's going to talk about the ghosts in her basement. She sent me a bunch of pictures of this stuff. It's gonna be kind of interesting, but like I said, I think she wants to talk a little bit about the suicide stuff. And I think that's a good subject. And I don't really know what to talk about it because I have no experience of it. I don't really know a lot of people, so you guys out there. And there's a lot of people in the audience that Isby says, I got a lot to say about that. Well, okay, there you go. So I tell you, I'd like to hear somebody's stories. And if you don't want to come on, send me an email. Write your story down that if you want me to read it on the air, I will. And you don't even have to come on. Just send me your email with your story. I would like to know, and then we'll do the thing on Saturday. And we're trying to make the best show we've ever had. Not to say this wasn't a really good show, because it was. But anyway, okay. Well, with that, everybody, I got to get going. I got to get some sleep. I love you all. Thank you, David, for joining me, and another show well done. Peace, everybody. Love you all. And there we go.